Alright, so today's topic is a login um, based on your roles or your level, and based on that you will end up into your separate pages. Like suppose if you're in the college, and in college, so there are different levels of students. One is a normal student, who those who come in and do their things, and there are special users like admin. They do the admin jobs, like they set up the exams, and they make the things all right. Then there are super users, they create the admins and all, so that kind of a story. Okay, so what we are going to do is, like, there are a bunch of students gonna get logged in based on the username and password, and based on their level they're gonna get redirected to their respective folder, because these are the special pages in which they are doing their job. Alright. So in order to make this thing happen, first we need to create a table. I have created, this is very basic, generally this is not recommended, especially for the level or this roles. We create a separate table and then we do the mapping and do the foreign keys. But due to lack of time and the way the request came, I had to make this thing. Alright, so you can see this is an ID. By default, the identity column of this guy I have done on as yes, so I don't need to worry while adding. It automatically is gonna add the whole thing, right? The username for username I have added what can I say, a constraint that username needs to be unique. The username needs to be unique. So if I'll talk about that later. Then there's a password and there's a level. Okay, so now let's see the data. Okay, I will open the data, and what I'll do is I'll try to add a guy named OK. Okay, and then something messed up and something messed up again, but you will notice the OK that I have kept a constraint on the username should be unique. So OK now breaks the law, right? So what happens is, when I pass through and try to commit, it gives me an error, and the error says that there's a cannot insert a duplicate key in a row object. So we don't need to worry about, like, the same record appearing into the table, right? So this is fully unique. Alright, so we don't need to worry. So if you look at this code where someone is trying, to select count star and see, like, if this ID is kind of matching, I mean, it does have a count. It tries to pick up the count first, which I try to eliminate by doing this design, which I'm sorry. What we did is, like, we made this whole column, the username column, as unique, so we don't need to worry about this one. So this goes out of the picture. Next thing, all we need to do is we need to query through the somehow to the database and check the username and password, and based on their level we need to redirect them. Okay, so this is good and this is pretty basic. So now what next we are going to do is we're gonna jump into the code, and you can see I have a login page in which I have a login control, and you can see I have a login button, click on which I have written some ADO.NET code. So let's look into that. What I have done is I have first of all created the connection, MySQL connection. I got some connection string which points to this database. That points to this database, and this points to this table. So now on the login click button I will write a query. Okay, the query would be very simple. I'm trying to fetch all the records from the students table where the username is equal to something something and password is equal to something something, and in the end I'm passing the connection because that's what a command requires. In the end, to make avoid the SQL injection and all, I'm using command parameters add with value, so nobody can mess up with my query and all. I'm passing the username, I'm passing the password, I'm opening the connection, I'm trying to execute this query. After executing this query, next line is frd.hasRows. If my reader has rows, it means I have found the correct match and I found the correct one single record. Then if then I say go ahead and read that record. Then what I do is I create a session variable called as username, in which I'll put down the rd.username. Rd is a special type of an you can say reader which contains a collection or maybe one record. In our case it is always going to be a one record. So what I'm saying is, if you want to access any, one second, let me show you view server explorer. If you want to access any of the columns, from the RD, then this is the way, one of the way you can do it, or you can do the indexing. So in case of username, you can write like RD of 1, and then dot to string will give you the value. Now whatever value I'm getting, I'm putting into the session variable. Then next I'm checking for the level because that check is done. So next check is, let's get the student level. So for that, I'm again accessing a student level. I'm trying to cast as an integer, and after that I do the switch case, like convert to int32 is safe, like if anything breaks, if I don't find it, in case, because in my database design I don't have this the foreign key constraint and all. This user level is simply as it is. If I mess up this thing and I make something like 0 or something crazy which is not foundable, or if I turn this thing something crazy, then there are chances the problem may occur, right? So what I'm doing is, if I don't find anything, if there is some garbage data into the database, and if it comes out so this will try to set the value as 0, and with that will return into the error, and it will redirect the user to the error page. The next thing, based on the level, the user gets redirected to their respective page. So you can imagine, based on the student level, they are redirected. And here's the thing, if I don't find any rows, that means my login has failed and there was a problem. And in good practices, always wrap your code with try and catch, and try to see the exception what stack trace you have received, right? And rest of the pages I would like to show you. On rest of the pages I've done very quick and dirty thing, which is, if I'm on the crazy page you can see within the page I have written the session variable right away. If I mark this page as start page, and if I run this thing, obviously I'm gonna end up getting an error called as object reference not set, right? So this is not a good practice. You need to go back into the code behind, you need to check if the session is not null, then try to access the value and do it. Alright, so this is the fastest and quickest way, because the first thing what I'm doing is I'm going to set this thing as a start page. So when I'm going to run this thing, okay, so it will by default give me a login page, rather than I'm going to be a crazy page or some other pages, right? So let's run and see if we are doing great. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, first I'm gonna put something crazy which does not exist in the table, and I will end up into the error. Okay, now I'm gonna enter a correct one. Now I hope you have seen okay is a super guy, so it will end up into the super ESPX page, and it will show you what type of user it was. Next thing we are going to see is we got OLE guy, the guy with the username OLE and password as OLE. So we are going to check on him. So whoops, something happened. Okay, so we're gonna close this thing down, and we're going to run this thing again, and this time we are going to try OLE and OLE, and now I'm gonna hit enter, and if I see my username is OLE and 2 is the admin, right? So it looks great. Let's close it and let's come back, let's rerun and see what happens, and let's go to the database. Now I got Rachel Parker. I'm gonna copy the password. I think I can type now I'm gonna add the name as RACHEL, Rachel, and this is going to be a Parker. I'm gonna log in, I'm gonna add a normal page, and you can see this user is the Rachel, the normal user, the normal page. So I hope this video gives you an idea how can you do this. This is not the recommended way in order to do this thing done. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching.